Ethan, would you suggest the Job Guide 360 guide for candidates getting ready for interviews?
Yes, without a doubt. It is well structured and makes preparation straightforward.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. So if you're getting ready for a facilities assistant interview, well, you probably know this role is pretty critical.
Oh, absolutely.
You aren't just a fixer,
Right.
You're kind of the operational linchpin. We need to move past just listing skills and really show some organized strategic thinking.
That's spot on. And our sources today, they include a really detailed 2025 guide specifically for this role. They give us the blueprint, essentially.
Okay.
We're not just learning the right answers. We're trying to extract the underlying strategies, what the interviewer is really trying to figure out when they ask a certain question.
Right. So our mission here is to equip you, the listener, with those specific examples and the insights into how employers are assessing things like clarity, prioritization, communication under pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can confidently explain how you manage, say, an unexpected heating fault, or why you rely on a CAFM system, that's the computer-aided facilities management software, right, for tracking work orders.
That's the one, the backbone, really.
If you can talk about that confidently, you're already kind of setting yourself apart.
Exactly. So we'll be breaking down the essential areas, coordinating the daily stuff, handling a crisis, the people skills, which are huge.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, mastering those slightly weird curveball questions they sometimes throw at you. Let's make sure you walk in knowing not just what to say, but why you're saying it.
Okay, perfect. Let's jump right into the fundamentals then. Probably the first question almost every candidate gets is something like, can you describe a typical day in your previous facilities role? What are they actually listening for there?
They're listening for evidence of structure, coordination. They want to see you're proactive, not just, running around putting out fires all day.
Reactive, yeah.
Right. So the answer needs to emphasize coordinating routine maintenance, scheduling checks, collaborating with your team members and maybe outside contractors. They want to see that your day starts with some kind of plan.
So a good example answer should probably involve like a proactive start, but then show how you pivot quickly when something unexpected happens.
Absolutely. You could say you start by reviewing urgent requests logged overnight, perhaps. Then you weave in how you handle an unexpected disruption, like quickly assessing a heating fault that just popped up in the main conference room.
Okay.
You show how you arrange the immediate fix, communicate the estimated repair time to the people affected, and, try to minimize the disruption. That mix of routine scheduling and reacting smartly is really the core competency they want to see.
Okay, that makes sense. So if your typical day involves, 10 maintenance requests all landing at once, the real trick, as the source material points out, is how you sort those 10.
Definitely.
Which brings us neatly to prioritization. How should you approach that question about juggling multiple requests?
Well, the key is showing you have a clear method, like a risk assessment ratio almost. You assess tasks based on urgency and impact.
Urgency and impact.
Right. Safety issues, an electrical hazard, maybe a compliance breach. Those have to take immediate precedence, no question. Then issues that disrupt the main business operations, like that failing heating system in winter we mentioned, they come next.
So, okay, if you've got a broken chair in one office and a broken heater in another, and it's January, the heater wins.
The heater wins, absolutely. Yeah. But it's the why that matters to the interviewer.
Yeah.
They're testing your understanding of risk, fixing a minor cosmetic thing like a chair, low risk, fixing a broken heater in winter that impacts comfort, maybe productivity, even health potentially. That's high risk.
Right.
And the other key part is communicating this logic, this priority structure to everyone involved. You manage their expectations that way.
And of course, we can't forget the routine checks, the things that hopefully prevent those big emergencies. What should someone mention when they talk about doing routine inspections?
Yeah, these inspections show your commitment to safety and compliance. The focus shouldn't just be, I walk around and look. It needs to be about systematic checks of key areas.
Like a checklist.
Could be a mental checklist or a formal one. And a great detail to include is what happens when you find something, even something minor. Like, say you spot a fire extinguisher that's out of date during your check.
Oh, okay.
You don't just note it down. You immediately communicate its removal and arrange for a replacement. That specific action shows you're proactive, detail-oriented, and you're minimizing future risks or liability.
Okay, this leads us nicely into the tactical stuff.
Yeah?
Crisis management. Those questions designed to test how you stay cool under serious pressure. Like, give an example of a time you had to resolve a facilities-related emergency.
Yeah, the sources really stress that your answer here has to be specific. Name the actual emergency, describe the immediate action you took, step by step if possible, and clearly state the positive outcome.
Okay.
So let's use that heating system failure again, but maybe focus more on the immediate stress of it.
Right, because dealing with a major system failure like that must be incredibly stressful. Does the guide offer any tips on just, keeping your composure when things are going sideways?
It does, yeah. It emphasizes that your composure is actually demonstrated through methodical action. You can briefly mention, taking a moment to breathe, assess, and then immediately starting the triage.
Triage.
Identify the scope of the problem, communicate clearly what's happening to the key stakeholders. The example should then flow into quick coordination to find a temporary fix. Maybe those portable space heaters. Again, communicating with occupants about the plan and arranging the urgent repairs. Swift, calm action minimizes the fallout and proves you can lead even when stressed.
And the sources also emphasize a methodical approach for, say, complex system failures, like HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, or an electrical fault. It's not just about hitting the panic button, is it?
No, definitely not. The interviewer wants to see some basic diagnostic skills. The step-by-step approach starts with carefully assessing the symptoms and, number one, prioritizing safety. Always.
Safety first.
Always. Before you even think about calling an expert, show you used simple, methodical steps to rule out the obvious stuff. A great practical detail to mention is checking the thermostat setting first for an HVAC issue or checking the power supply connection. Basic troubleshooting.
Before escalating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Before you escalate to consulting manuals or calling in a specialist contractor, it shows you don't waste resources.
Okay, but what if you hit a wall? You run into an issue you genuinely don't know how to fix right away. That must happen. It takes huge resourcefulness.
Oh, yeah, and that's a perfect test of both resourcefulness and accountability. Your strategy here has to show composure again. First step, gather all the relevant info you can. Then consult experts or maybe experienced colleagues.
Right.
And crucially, implement temporary measures immediately to mitigate the impact. Keep things running as smoothly as possible. If the main copier breaks down and you can't fix it on the spot, maybe you redirect staff to use a machine in an adjacent department while you arrange for the technician.
So you manage the impact while solving the root cause.
Precisely. You show you're thinking about the users and the operation.
And what about those annoying recurring issues? The classic problem that just keeps coming back every few months. How do you show you can shift from just being a firefighter to being more of a strategist in your answer?
That requires focusing on root cause analysis. The process you describe should involve collecting detailed historical data like when and where does this issue happen? Look for patterns, spot trends.
Data-driven.
Exactly. Then you talk about testing practical fixes, maybe even some slightly unconventional ones if the standard ones haven't worked. And then critically, updating maintenance protocols or maybe even suggesting a small upgrade to prevent it from happening again. You need to show you don't just patch holes, you try to redesign the system or the process to be more robust.
Okay, let's pivot a bit to the people factor. Facilities assistants are often the glue holding the physical workplace together. So how do you demonstrate really good teamwork and collaboration, especially when you're working with specialized teams like maintenance or cleaners?
Well, in a facilities role, you're often in a highly supportive and coordinating position. So what interviewers want to see is that you actively listen and that you really prioritize clear communication. It's about making sure everyone knows what they need to know when they need to know it.
Can you give us a strong example of that kind of collaboration, maybe something from the source material?
Yeah, a great example is coordinating schedules between, say, the maintenance team doing repairs and the cleaning crew. Maybe you're arranging for the floors in a high-traffic area to be stripped and waxed.
Okay, that can be disruptive.
Hugely disruptive. So you need to ensure it happens after hours or maybe during a time when that particular team is off-site to guarantee minimal disruption during busy office hours. Success there comes down to clear, timely communication, maybe emails, maybe a quick meeting, regular check-ins, ensuring everyone knows their part and the overall timeline.
What about the building occupants themselves? They can sometimes be demanding or maybe just confused about ongoing work. What are the best practices for communicating maintenance updates to them?
Keep the messages really straightforward and clear. Avoid jargon. Listen carefully to their concerns or needs, and make sure you respond quickly, even if it's just to say, I've received your query and I'll get back to you. It shows you value their time.
And the channel matters too, right?
Oh, definitely. Use the best channel for the message. For a major sudden outage, you probably need direct email or even posters. For longer-term project updates, the sources suggest things like a simple newsletter or maybe a shared online calendar, something that reduces confusion and maybe answers questions before they're even asked.
Okay. And then the really tough communication tasks.
Yeah.
Handling a, let's say, vocal complaint or trying to balance two completely conflicting needs from two different departments. How do you navigate that?
Right. When handling complaints, the key is listen carefully first, don't interrupt. Stay calm yourself, show genuine empathy even if you don't agree, understand their frustration, then take prompt action to investigate or resolve the issue. And critically, follow up afterwards to make sure they feel their issue was addressed satisfactorily.
And balancing those conflicting needs.
That requires really active listening again, to understand both sides fully. Then you have to prioritize, probably based on that urgency and impact framework we talked about earlier.
Back to urgency and impact.
It often comes back to that. And then you communicate proactively about the decision, the trade-offs involved. If a solution is delayed for one party, explain why, and crucially, suggest temporary measures or alternatives to mitigate their inconvenience. It's all about being responsive, fair, and transparent.
Okay, moving into this strategic prep phase now. Let's quickly recap the sort of fundamental skills an interviewer is absolutely looking for before we get into the final research bits.
Sure. So the core operational skills are obviously essential. Strong communication, being organized, good time management, problem solving. But I think the single most valued trait, based on the sources, is probably attention to detail.
Attention to detail.
Yeah.
Why specifically that?
Because it's about being proactive. It's the ability to notice the small things before they become big problems, like spotting a tiny water stain or a minor leak on a ceiling tile early on before it causes, catastrophic damage that costs a fortune to repair. That kind of detail orientation is absolutely critical in facilities. It saves money and hassle down the line.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so how does a candidate show they're committed to staying current? I mean, this field changes, right?
Yeah.
New safety regulations, sustainable tech.
Yeah, it does. You need to show you're proactive about your own professional development. You should mention specific, tangible steps. Things like regularly reading industry publications or newsletters, maybe mentioning professional bodies like the British Institute of Facilities Management, if that's relevant to the location.
Okay.
Or perhaps attending local networking events, even virtual ones now. Taking short courses or webinars, maybe on updated health and safety compliance or new sustainability practices. You need to show them you actively invest in keeping your own expertise up to date.
And what about technical literacy? Are they expecting full mastery of really specialized software, or is it more about familiarity with common systems, like that CAFM software?
Generally, familiarity is sufficient, but demonstrating comfort is key. Mentioning you're familiar with maintenance scheduling tools, Planin was one example given, or as we said, CAFM systems for tracking work orders, that shows you understand how modern facilities operate.
So you don't need to be an expert on day one necessarily.
Not usually, no. The key is to also emphasize that you're a fast learner when it comes to new technologies, because let's face it, every organization uses slightly different platforms anyway. Show you're adaptable.
Right. Okay, now for arguably the most crucial part of pre-interview strategy, the research. So many people just glance at the company website's About Us page and maybe skim LinkedIn. Does the 2025 guide suggest digging deeper? Maybe looking at sites like Glassdoor? Even if the salary ranges mentioned, like the 20K to 25K UK example, are just a benchmark. Why is that level of detail important?
Oh, it's absolutely vital because that deeper research shows genuine, targeted interest, not just generic preparation. Yes, the salary range on Glassdoor gives you context, which is helpful, but the real gold, as you said, is often in the employee reviews.
What should you look for in the reviews?
Pay close attention to repeated trends in the feedback, especially anything related to facilities or operations. If multiple people mention, say, slow response times to maintenance requests or recurring problems with a specific building system or amenity.
You've just identified one of their current operational pain points.
Exactly. You walk into that interview already understanding a challenge they might be facing, and you can subtly position yourself as part of the solution. It's incredibly powerful.
That's a massive insight. Okay, what about the rest of the research strategy beyond Glassdoor?
Well, definitely dig deeper on the company website. Look beyond About Us, check their news section, blogs, look for press releases about facilities upgrades, new buildings, sustainability initiatives, any long-term plans they've announced.
Got it.
And track broader industry news, too. Set up Google Alerts, maybe, or follow key industry publications online. Stay updated on big trends, smart building tech, IoT sensors, new environmental regulations, health and safety updates. This allows you to speak knowledgeably about how those macro trends might affect their specific facility's strategy. Shows you think bigger picture.
Okay, this brings us to the final section, the one people often dread. The curveballs, those slightly bizarre, seemingly random questions. What do the sources say is the real purpose behind asking something that feels a bit silly?
Yeah, they're usually not looking for the literal answer at all. They're testing your creativity, your critical thinking skills, and, crucially, your ability to connect an abstract concept back to the requirements of the job. It's basically a resourcefulness test under pressure.
Okay, so it's less about the what and more about the how you answer.
Okay.
Can you give us the strategic breakdown for tackling these?
Sure. So if they ask you, say, what superpower you'd choose, don't just pick flying because it sounds cool, but choose one that directly relates to solving a core problem of the facility's assistant role.
Like what?
Like the ability to multitask efficiently across multiple locations at once, or maybe the power to instantly coordinate disparate teams without needing phone calls or emails. See? You link it directly back to juggling tasks or communication, key requirements of the job.
Okay, I see. What about the deserted island question? What 3 items would you bring?
Again, think strategy, not just comfort. Focus on survival, communication, maybe documentation or planning. So perhaps a solar-powered radio for communication or information, a robust multi-tool or maybe a fishing net for sustenance, and a waterproof notebook and pen for documentation, planning, maybe even just keeping morale up. Every item should serve a practical, strategic purpose relevant to problem solving.
Right, shows you think methodically. And the historical figure question, who would you have dinner with?
Yeah, avoid the really obvious choices like Einstein or Churchill, maybe. Try to pick someone who demonstrates qualities relevant to the role, perhaps someone known for innovative problem solving in really difficult or resource-constrained environments, maybe an explorer, an engineer, an organizer.
Like Amelia Earhart, as the source mentioned.
Yeah, someone like Amelia Earhart could work well, showing critical thinking, resilience, maybe a unique perspective on logistics or planning under pressure. The key is why you choose them. The justification needs to subtly highlight skills like strategic thinking, planning, or dealing with the unexpected, all relevant to facilities management.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about framing the answer strategically.
Exactly. So just to summarize the key takeaways here, a successful facilities assistant interview seems to rest on about 3 pillars. First, showing clear prioritization, always driven by that risk assessment, urgency and safety come first.
Got it.
Second, demonstrating methodical problem solving. Even when you don't know the immediate fix, you show you have a process. Gather info, consult experts, implement temporary measures.
Stay calm and logical.
Right. And third, empathetic communication. That means really listening carefully, both to team members and occupants, and proactively managing expectations, keeping everyone in the loop.
Okay, so you, the listener, you've got the technical tips now, the strategic research methods. But here's the final thought for you to really chew on. The sources guide you to research specific things, like maybe a company's recent sustainability initiatives, or perhaps an upcoming office refurbishment they mentioned on their blog.
Right, those specific details you uncover.
So how can you use that specific personalized detail from your research, that one particular goal or project they're focused on right now? How can you weave that into your curveball answers? For example, choosing a superpower that directly helps the company meet that exact sustainability goal they just announced. Can you turn that potentially awkward question into a highly personalized narrative that basically proves you're already thinking about their current priorities and you're aligned with where they're heading?
Yeah, that's the challenge.
That's how you go beyond just answering the questions well. That's how you potentially turn that knowledge into a decisive job offer.